Welcome to Dirty Fanatics United.
Falcon fans, Falcon Nation, welcome to Dirty Fanatics United, your home of the Atlanta Falcons podcast as we bring you daily updates, news, and coverage of the Atlanta Falcons. We keep it 100 here at DFU. With that being said, I'm your host, Seed Money. You can call me Chase, and my guy David is my co-host for tonight. David, what's going on, man? How you been doing? A lot of Falcon news has broken the news. A lot of signings, particularly today. A lot to talk about tonight, David. How you been doing, man? And how are you feeling about these Atlanta Falcons as they shape up for 2026?
Like I say, we are hearing a lot of talk, a lot of different, things that people are saying that this year, calling it a bridge year. I'm always the optimist when it comes to the Falcons and everything. They had a lot of talent already on the roster, and a lot of the signings that we're doing, I think is, improving the team. Yeah, just saying, looking at the power rankings and everything today, kind of disappointing in where they're, we're falling on those, and I just don't see the team as being as bad as, these power rankings and everything is making us out to be. So, just got to keep pushing.
So, Dave, one of the major things that the Falcons talked about heading into the offseason was the depth pieces that this team needed, which has been a big part of what the Atlanta Falcons have shown, not only in free agency, but players that they retained. And Lakel London, a guy that plays no tackle, a guy that really wasn't that top-tier player to even expect to re-sign, but the Falcons found a way to retain him, bringing in more depth pieces as far as linebacker, losing Caden Ellis. You bring in the receivers, Olamide Zaccheaus, Jahan Dotson. Now you look at the Falcons today making the move at Trevor Siemian, your third-string quarterback, making a signing there. Also today signing Brian Robinson Jr., former Washington Commander, last year 49er. So you look at the Falcons building the roster. That's why when I look at the ranking and I see the Falcons ranked at 22, believe behind the Panthers and the Aints, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's crazy. You swept the Aints last year twice, not once, but twice you beat the Saints, and you still land in the 22 spot. But David, my question to you, and shout out to Southside Ricky and Abno in the chat. My question to you, David, is do you blame the rankings to put you at a 22 with this quarterback situation in Atlanta?
Well, that's the only place that I think that, we can be questioned. Definitely, I think that we have the talent in the quarterback room. I know they question our durability in Tua and Penix. Simeon just coming on. I know, he's been a spot starter, career backup so far. He had a couple of years where he was the lead quarterback going into the season, but I might be mistaken on that. I'm not real familiar with him, but I kind of, in watching football, I can remember Trevor Siemian, getting some burn. But talking about our quarterback room, I think that's the only place that, some of these analysts and everything can really question us at, is that, we are going into the season with a big question mark quarterback. Everything else this team has. So I can't see, us falling as far as we did in the power rankings. But, that's a preseason. No games have been played. No training camp has been had. So, I'm not going to put a lot of stock in that.
Shout out to Southside Ricky with the first comment tonight. Said, what's going on, everyone? Falcon Nation's over everybody. Southside, glad to have you here tonight, brother. We were supposed to go live Friday and had the live raffle. Life caught up with us. We got busy, was not able to do the show this past weekend. The raffle will be this Friday, guys. So hang around with us this Friday night. We'll do another live podcast and we will have that live raffle. So shout out to Southside Ricky. Also, my guy Obnal in the chat with it earlier said, yo, fellas, what's going on? Obnal, tap in with us Friday night, brother. We'll be live with the live raffle. Southside Ricky says, I like the move to bring in Brian Robinson. Very good pickup. I give that move an A+. That we're about to speak on here very soon. But David, so we're speaking about Trevor Siemian here for just a moment. Not a big flashy signing, a guy that you see that has played backup in the league. He is a veteran quarterback. He played with the Broncos. His longest stint of starting games was with the Broncos. He played some games with the Jets. He's played with the Saints. He's played with the Bears. There's the familiarity when it comes to your Ian Cunningham connection. So you look at the guy that's bringing you depth pieces. To me, the headline for this topic could be, this isn't about Trevor Siemian playing. This is about Penix not being ready or Tua missing time later on down the road. You got to have that third string quarterback, and I think that was the reason you reached out to this signing. It still brings you some kind of a competition in the quarterback room, and you also solidify a backup veteran quarterback that has played games in the NFL if Tua or Penix was to go down throughout the season.
Well, yeah, I think that very calculated offseason so far. I think that a lot of the spots that we've gone, they say that we need to address, they have been addressed. And then, that leads into the draft. Are we going into the draft, pinpointing specific needs, or are we going to just take the best player on the board? That's the two ways that teams draft. Best available player or the attack needs. So, you always want to acquire the most talent that you can on the roster. So if we are attacking everything that we need in, free agency, it just go get a player when it comes to the draft.
So this is a topic that a lot of Falcon fans, I feel like the chat particular could get active with, and this is something I think, David, that you would appreciate as well as Robert, Cody, everybody else. The Falcons made a signing today, a pretty big shoes to fill as Tyler Algier is no longer a Falcon. The Falcons signed Brian Robinson Jr., a guy that has played the starting position for a team once he was drafted. 4 years ago, Brian Robinson was introduced to the NFL, started for Washington Commanders 3 to 4 seasons, and then this past year was a backup role for Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco. David, when you look at this comparison of what Brian Robinson has been able to do throughout his career, and you compare the numbers to a Tyler Algier, yes, Tyler had the 1,000 season his rookie year. Brian has yet to bust that 1K mark. He was around 800, 700 for 3 seasons straight. And then this past year at 400 yards playing the backup role. David, your thoughts on Brian Robinson? How does he come into that plug and play as far as losing Tyler Algier? Is it a big piece to try to fill, or is Brian Robinson and Bijan a nice duo here in Atlanta as you look for, Bijan being your elusive back and you look for that ground and pound and what Tyler once was here in Atlanta?
I think it'll be a nice compliment. Brian Robinson, and we've seen that he has talent as a running back. Last year, I don't know, 92 touches for 400 yards. I don't think that's I think probably 4.5 yard average. And I think that's pretty good. You come Bijan, I think he had a year where he had maybe 400 yards receiving as well. So I think that, he can come in and he can definitely feel the role that Tyler feel, and we don't have that. We don't have that. I don't want to say competition, but I think we know Bijan is the best back in the league.
So David, here's the hard question for you. This is a really hard question for you. Is it an upgrade over Algier, or did we lose the better back in this scenario?
Well, of course, fan favorite, in Tyler. He's I think Brian Robinson brings enough talent that we're gonna miss Tyler, but I think that he brings enough talent to the backfield that we can get some use out of him. Bijan is gonna be Bijan. Bijan is gonna get the most touches anyway, so we don't need anybody that's gonna come in and demand that big of a role. And I think that Brian Robinson will come in and play his role on this team, spell Bijan, series here, series there, and keep it moving like that.
Robert, what's going on, brother? Glad to have you here tonight. Guys, if you're just tuning into the channel, Robert, another co-host here of DFU, join us tonight to talk some Falcon football. Robert, me and David was just speaking on the two signings the Atlanta Falcons made today. Trevor Siemian, backup quarterback, and then obviously your new running back, Brian Robinson Jr. here in Atlanta. Robert, your thoughts on the two signings, man, and overall, how's life been treating you? Appreciate you joining us here tonight.
It's good to be on tonight. It's been a while. Life's treating me pretty good, man. Still loving the new gig. It's going great. Been on the road a lot, but other than that, it's going great. The two new signings today. Siemian brings a lot of experience to the quarterback room. I think it's a very smart pickup. We're still not sure about the status of Michael Penix for opening day. And, we've still, I hate to be blunt about it, but, Tua's just one more concussion away from forced retirement. And, I think if we give him protection, and if Penix isn't ready, I think Tua can flourish with the Falcons, but, it's a good insurance policy. I don't really know what Siemian's numbers have been like in recent years. I remember when he started in Denver, and he showed some flashes of brilliance. The Brian Robinson signing, I think it's great. I think he can spell Bijan. I think he can be productive in the passing game. Is he an upgrade over Tyler Algier? I don't know. I know he had a bit of a down year this past year with the 49ers, but I think that he brings a lot of versatility. One thing I think that we might see too, someone brought up the point, will we draft a running back? One thing I'd like to see is like a three-headed monster. The Cincinnati Bengals had this in the late 80s. They had James Brooks as your primary back. You had Ickey Woods as your power back. And you had Stanford Jennings as kind of like a speed back. I've been watching a little bit of Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest. I think he'd be a good addition if we do draft the third back. He'd be that scat back option.
Robert, I don't think that drafting a running back is out of the scenario because you signed Brian Robinson to a one-year deal for $2.5 million. Not a big contract that you got to eat. It's a one-year deal. You release him after this season if you do happen to draft the future backup running back to Bijan Robinson. I think that's a fifth-round pick kind of decision, but, I'm not against it if the Falcons were to go that route.
Right.
Not against it at all. Southside Ricky says, Trevor Siemian was a good pickup, too. We needed another arm throwing the ball coming training camp, and why not a vet that has 30-plus starts but has some good games in the league? I agree. You bring a guy that brings veteranship, a guy that can bring you level-headedness to team meetings, a guy that can help run team meetings. He's been on several teams throughout his league, throughout the years. Denver Broncos, the Saints, the Bears, I think it was the Jets. He's played on a couple of teams throughout the NFL. So a guy that brings veteranship to the quarterback room, and also, as Robert mentioned, a guy that is here in case Penix isn't ready or Tua happens to get hurt throughout the season and misses time. So a good insurance policy, as Robert stated. I agree to what David and Robert stated about Trevor, as well as Brian Robinson. I think Brian brings you, it's crazy that to say it, but they kind of play the same kind of style of football. When you look at Bijan Robinson and Brian Robinson, obviously Bijan, the more elusive back, the more shiftier back, but Brian is just as fast, just as good with his hands as he is his feet. So I'm excited to see what this offense can run. Could you really see a two-headed monster now that you have two guys that can catch out of the backfield? It just keeps coming to my mind when I think of 2016 when Matt Ryan had Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman in the backfield, two guys that both could catch the ball out of the backfield. And when I look at Bijan and Brian, that's two guys that have done it very well throughout their short time throughout the NFL. So I'm excited to see where it leads as far as what this offense could look like.
I don't think there's a lot of touches left in the backfield to draft a running back, but I do think that we do need that thumper. I think, like saying, they are kind of similar in style. I think that, that thumper, that third and one, fourth and one type running back that, Bijan can do it all. He can, with the offensive line, we have to lean heavier on them for the run. But, you do want that bigger back in there sometime. And I don't think that we have that on the roster I think after them is Carlos Washington. And who's the other one? Nate Carter. And I think all those other smaller type backs. And we just bruiser on the team at this point. So I think that, that would be something I would like to see on the team, that bigger thumper type back.
Yep, I agree 100%. Speaking of thumper on the other side of the ball defensively, news broke out today and has been releasing slowly as the weeks have been going by. James Pierce case, the audio from the 911 has been released. I don't know if you guys have listened to that. Audio has been released. David, you've heard it. Here's your thoughts on it, man. Elaborate what you took from the 911 call.
Well, I didn't listen to the whole call, but I did, read that she did say that she was going to shoot him. That was about the extent of what I know about 911 call. So that's
from what I listened to and also read. There was a call that James Pierce made during the police suit to the police station saying what was happening. The police station was after him, yada yada yada. And he was in tears during this altercation over the phone with the police station. So I don't know what could come out of this. I don't know if the Falcons, obviously, if we're seeing it, the Falcons have been seeing it. So obviously, the Falcons have seen it. There's still a lot of decisions to come as far as legal matters. Just your guys' thoughts on the situation where it sits right now. We're a couple of weeks away from draft, and we still don't know if James Pierce Jr. will even play next season.
Well, yeah, I'm just like I say, I'm looking, thinking about the worst and just hoping for the best when it comes to that situation. My thing is when I look at the roster, I'm not including him in the depth chart in my mind right now. If he is on there when it comes into the season, that's a positive. So, at this point, I'm bracing myself not to have him, and then we'll let everything play out as it goes.
Yeah, I think best case scenario is, we have to at least look at this season not having him on the roster. And David, to your point, yeah, I agree. When we look at the roster, we have to think of it like, he's not going to be here. The legal process, I think, will actually end up, working in James's favor. I don't think he's going to serve any time. But, if the legal process plays out and, say he gets a suspended sentence, I don't know all the legal terms and all that. The justice system may not do much about it, but, the league will. Just being involved in this altercation, I'd say he's looking at probably at least a 6-game suspension. So I'd say you can definitely count on him not being available for, all through September, maybe into October as well. Then that would be the best case scenario.
Well, we can only hope
says Southside believes he'll only miss 8 games at the most. That's the best case scenario, David. That's the best case that we're speaking of right there. If that's how that plays out. The Falcons turn the page a little bit, as we probably won't run but about a 25-30-minute show tonight, guys. I have to get up early in the morning, and we're kind of hitting on topics that just released here throughout the past week. Another topic that hit the news today, the Falcons also signed a coach today, Drummond from UGA. Did you guys see that as that was released today?
Yeah, I didn't really have a chance to dig into that one. I did see it, but I didn't have a chance, to read up on that too much. So
can you guys still hear me talk, or I don't know what it's doing on y'all's end with me being
I can hear you.
It says the Falcons have hired UGA Deputy Athletic Director and Chief Marketing Officer Stephen Drummond to work closely with Matt Ryan. Obviously, if he's working close with Matt Ryan, this sounds like he's going to have some say in what the Falcons do. here in the upcoming decisions, because Matt Ryan is president of football. A big decision, and a guy working very closely with Matt Ryan would obviously have some say or persuasion in what happens there in that big scenario. So obviously a guy to get familiar with, as the Falcons have made a new signing here. The Falcons were very heavy when it came to UGA Pro Day. I'm sure you guys seen that on Twitter and Facebook. Obviously, there was released that the Falcons and Matt Ryan were talking to our guy Branch at Pro Day. So still eyeing on Branch being that receiver pick at number 2 or second round. Who knows what happens there? I'm hearing a lot about defensive tackles, that the Falcons have been heavy on looking at defensive tackles. If you guys had to choose, are you going receiver or are you going defensive tackle?
Well, I've done quite a few mock drafts, which I normally don't do. We're just trying to play around with, at 48, Branch was still there. And he was there a lot later.
Mm-hmm.
So my ideal situation right now is going to be, trading back 7, 8, 10 spots, picking up a third round is what I've done. And then still get Branch, and then picking up another third
That's
round.
kind of the gist of what I think the Falcons will lean into, because Ian Cunningham expressed how he felt about not having a first round pick. So this would be the last year the Falcons had that many amount of picks. And then obviously another acquire that we forgot to mention, Sidney Brown, now a Falcon from the Eagles, swapped. They just swapped picks. What was it, 6th and 7th round pick, or 5th and 7th? They swapped.
Yeah. Dropped eight spots in the earlier round, and then I think 12 in the later switch. So not too bad. Depth special team type player, but definitely had to improve the special teams as well. And I think that's where, nothing too major to get excited about.
Eagle fans online were kind of happy the Falcons signed him. So I got a question mark by Sidney Brown. We'll see what happens as the season comes along, but not so hot on that signing right now. But we'll see how it shakes out. I read somewhere that could initially give the Falcons a draft pick. I don't know how that works out, but we'll see.
What they were saying is that he's on an expiring contract, and if we lose him, we'll get a conditional pick, and that's what they were saying. Went on with that. Okay. But with us losing, our gunner on special teams, I think that's the role that they're looking for him to,
Southside believes that Sidney Brown will be one of those picks in the offseason that we look at and say he's a key acquisition. We'll see what happens. And Southside, you are the only one commenting right now, brother. We appreciate your comments. Keep them coming. It's going to be a short 30-minute show tonight, as we're at 23 minutes already, but appreciate the comments. Definitely keep them coming. And if you're viewing, please leave a comment, as we would love to hear what you think about our topics tonight. Robert, we were speaking a little bit about where the Falcons ranked on the 32 rankings or whatever, 1 to 32, where the Falcons fall. And the Falcons are at number 22 right now in the power ranking, behind the Carolina Panthers and the team that you beat twice last year, the New Orleans Saints. Robert, your thoughts on that, and just what makes you think the Falcons rank so low on that board?
I think it has a lot to do with just, the shakeup in the front office and with the coaching staff, and I hate to say it, but I think the whole situation with James Pierce is, kind of give us a bit of a shiner, as far as the media goes. But, we really can't read too much in the power rankings in the preseason. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be played out on the field. And, later on, depending on how we draft, it's going to go up and down. Kudos to the Panthers and to the Saints. I mean, I think the Panthers will be the team to beat in the South, for us anyway. And I think the Saints, as much as I hate to say this, I think that Kellen Moore did a pretty good job of coaching them last year. And, I think they're going to be much improved. The the Bucks have lost Mike Evans and, as of today, Levante David to retirement.
Yep.
I think the Bucks will be the team that'll falter off a little bit. So you got the three teams that have been chasing Tampa Bay for the last few years. I think that one of these three teams are definitely going to rise to the top. I think it'll be us, and I don't think that's just my bias coming through. I think that we've, made the necessary moves, and, having Matt Ryan, leading the charge, bringing in Kevin Stefanski to be the head coach, Ian Cunningham, for a first-time GM, we don't know how these moves are going to play out, but this man is not afraid to get his fingerprints on everything. That's what we've been missing. That was one of the character flaws I thought that, Terry Fontenot did, and even Thomas Dimitrov, I think that he whiffed a lot. And, there was just something missing. It was like they were too afraid, minus the Julio trade. Dimitrov seemed like he was too afraid to take chances, and Terry Fontenot was definitely too afraid to take chances until this past year when he traded back up in the first round to get James Pierce.
Yeah, you talk about playing the Saints twice, beating the Saints twice. I'm reading Southside Ricky's comment here talking about sweeping the Bucks and the Saints this upcoming season. A guy that you're going to see twice this season, guys, Caden Ellis. Can't wait to see how that plays out in Atlanta and in New Orleans. Definitely a matchup to see how well Caden knows the Atlanta Falcons and how well he fits back in with the Saints, as they did lose a lot of key pieces on defense as they gained Caden Ellis back to their squad. So excited to see how that works out for us. In the NFC South, I think, as Robert just spoke on, is going to be wide open, man. I think it's going to be a shakeup. You can't this is the window where you can't let that one team that everybody's chasing now be somebody other than you. Like, it can't be the Carolina Panthers. It can't be the New Orleans Saints. Like, this is the window where the Falcons have to take advantage and take that spot and be the team that runs the NFC South. It's got to start early, and it's got to be consistent throughout the season, because as you guys have seen the past two seasons, Falcons started off kind of promising. We were doing pretty well up to the Thursday night game against the Bills, and then after that, the 4-game collapse. Same with the previous year when we were 6-3 at one point, and then it all collapsed from that point. So consistency is the key for me this season. Excited to see what happens draft night. Jersey release will be coming very soon. I believe next week we'll get to find out what our jerseys look like. We'll have a podcast. Hopefully we'll find out what time the jerseys drop, and we'll go live that day and try to be live when they drop the jerseys. So stick around. Make sure you ring that bell so you're with DFU as we bring you this breaking content and upcoming news. As we find out, you find out as well. So be sure to ring the bell and subscribe if you're new to the channel. David, Robert, man, I appreciate you guys coming through tonight. A little short 30-minute live work night. Obviously, we all got to get up in the morning and go back to it in the morning. So real quick, give me a shout out for tonight. Appreciate you guys coming through tonight, running this 30-minute show with me.
Well, just shout out to good Lord, like we always do. Shout out to the Falcons. One more point I wanted to make. They had a picture showing that Michael Penix was out playing paintball. Running around playing paintball. So, that gives you some optimism that, he is moving around, and he, is not afraid of that knee if he's out there doing, some recreational activities like that. Looking for the defense. We giving a shout out to Ian Cunningham for bringing these free agents in. We got some people that are, came into the league as high caliber players, and now they're on the record, trying to reclaim their careers. And we got OGs, Ojulari, Sampson, Epcom, Christian Harris. Those are some people that I want to really see what they're going to bring to this defense. And I think those are someone that have played at a high level in other organizations, coming in off a down year, and then coming back into our defense, trying to, get back to the level that they played at a real high level for that. So, it gives me some excitement just looking at that. Even the Nick Folk was probably the best kicker in the league last year. We won't have to worry about, are we going to hit the field goal? So I'm kind of excited with the free agents that Ian Cunningham and has brought into the organization right now. So, shout out to Ian for the job that he's done so far. And hopefully the coaches can put that on the field and give us a good product. So that's my spiel on that.
Absolutely.
Well, shout out to the good Lord above, just another day above the dirt, is a good day. Shout out to you guys for letting me be a part of this. It's always a pleasure to talk Dirty Bird football with you guys. And I agree with David. Shout out to Ian Cunningham. He has done a fantastic job so far. He's filling the holes in the roster, not breaking the bank. Would it be nice to have a big splash? Yeah, but now is not the time. We've got to clean up the mess that the last couple of regimes have left us. One thing I was thinking about here not too long ago was, the negativity toward signing Tua to be the backup. I never had an issue with him personally. He's had some down years. He's had some health issues. But when you think about it, we've signed Tua to compete for the QB1 spot, and we signed Nick Folk as our new kicker. The two games that we should have won last year, we were penciled in as definite wins, were the Dolphins and the Jets. Nick Folk beats us on the last-second 56-yard field goal, and this concussion prone. Yeah, this concussion prone.
One eye.
Yeah.
He was playing with one eye and spanked our defense's ass.
Yes. 4 touchdowns from Tua that day. 4 touchdowns.
Over 300 yards on the ground. I mean, that guy.
Exactly. And, I don't necessarily hold Brick responsible for that defensive letdown, but I do hold Raheem responsible because it's the head coach's job to make sure that the team is prepared. And I don't think that Kevin Stefanski will allow stuff like this to happen. So I'm glad he's on board as our head coach. But back to our shout outs, shout out to, our viewers, our subscribers. Without you guys, this isn't possible. And shout out to my family as always, Brianna, Peyton, Zach, and Christy. I love you all, and rise up.
Rise up, man. Big shout out to all the supporters of DFU, man. All the comments. Shout out to Southside Ricky. He came through tonight with the comments. Shout out to Abner with his chat as well. Shout out to all the live viewers. Now we reached 12 live viewers at 10 o'clock tonight, man. So appreciate every single body that came through at this late night episode with DFU. Ring the bell, subscribe if you're new to the channel, hit the like button, share it to another Falcon friend. Appreciate you guys coming through. As always, man, big shout out to David and Robert for coming through tonight, giving me somebody to talk Falcon football with. Big shout out to the wife back home, taking care of the babies. I'll be home Thursday night. Can't wait to get back to the crib. Big shout out to the girl out above, man. Another day, another blessing, and much good thoughts for tomorrow. Wife's got a baby checkup, so hoping and praying for a good report with that.
Congrats.
So big shout out to yes, sir, man. I appreciate it. And big shout out to the rest of the DFU crew, Cody, Rick, and Philip that wasn't able to make it tonight, man. As always, be sure to ring that bell because DFU will be bringing you breaking content throughout the whole off season. Live raffle Friday night and a live show when the Falcons give the sneak peek of the new 2026 Atlanta Falcon uniforms. It's your host, C Money, with my guys, David and Robert. We up out of here. As always, A-Town down, rise up.